Come on, you nag!
After about 23 hours in Kingdom Come Deliverance II, I am still at the beginning of the game, at least from the main story perspective. And yet I can say with the fullest confidence that this game already is one of the most immersive and authentic and feature-rich games that I have ever played. Something I was concerned about at first is how are they going to handle the Henry reset? Is it gonna be a believable transition? And will progression feel consistently rewarding? Well, without any story spoilers, let it be said, I think they handled Henry's reset extremely well. It's not a complete factory reset, by the way. Henry is not the useless, clumsy, constantly drunk person that he very much was at the beginning of Kingdom Come. But the events that he and Hans endured at the beginning of Kingdom Come 2 inevitably lead to some needed self-reflection. So Henry has to take quite a few steps back and take it slow again. Also, it's very important for me to mention this, as someone who hasn't completed Kingdom Come 1. Due to me just not having a good time with the combat system, I can say that the opening prologue of the game does a more than sufficient job at setting the stage for players who have not played the first game. And with that said, as great and spectacular as all the cutscenes at the beginning were, the true beauty of the game started to shine for me when the game indirectly gave us the message: alright, thank you for your attention thus far. From this point forward, you are totally free to do whatever you want and in which order you want. So that's exactly what I did. I am pretty certain that for the next 6 to 7 hours, I didn't touch the main story at all and focused on getting to know the NPCs in the first 2 small villages that I encountered while doing some first exploration.
What the hell? Raus, du Bastard!
Something I certainly didn't expect is how much I enjoyed the dice minigame. It's a lot of fun and can be both extremely rewarding and a bit of a slap in the face if you decide to go all in. Suffice it to say, I spent at least 3 hours playing dice with this lovely woman right here, and at one point I lost a big amount of groschen, so I followed her home and stabbed a dagger into her throat while she was asleep and robbed her of her entire belongings. Something that stands out to me is that all NPCs seem to be persistent and have their own routines. If you discover a small settlement with, let's say, 20 or 25 people, and you get to know them a bit and then leave the settlement for a couple days or weeks and then return, these NPCs will not be replaced by some other random NPCs. They will still be there and quite often remember you, depending on the impressions you made or didn't make on them. I haven't discovered some of the bigger villages yet, but I suppose that's how it works across the entire game. Speaking of NPCs and impressions, the game lets you solve many situations with persuasion, if you so choose. There are many options for this, and the game takes into account what your reputation is, what you currently look like, and who it is you are talking to. So simply choosing the highest number isn't gonna work here. In terms of combat, if you are more the violent type, I can say that as someone who quit the first Kingdom Come halfway through, due to the combat system just being too clunky and difficult for me, I actually enjoy the combat in this game. There are tons of badass weapons, and even though I mostly used relatively simple weapons so far, it feels more impactful and believable. I especially like how NPCs react more naturally to all the different weapons. And while there is no dismemberment system, the blood splatters can be oddly satisfying to witness. I don't know the exact things they changed, but it was much easier for me to get into this time. And just to give you a taste of how realistic this game wants to be, you actually have to properly layer your clothing just like with real medieval armor. Of course, one of the highlights in this game is simply exploring this authentic and truly vast open world. You are often rewarded for exploring off the beaten path, whether it's an NPC with a simple side quest, some loot, or approaching a seemingly unobtrusive house, that then to my surprise evolved into a massive 2-hour-long side quest. Thanks to a dedicated walk button, you really can just wander around and immerse yourself.
That tree will still be here long after we're gone.
Graphically speaking, I play the game maxed out in 4K, and sometimes have to remind myself that it's a game. The attention to detail and especially the viewing distance are honestly insane, especially considering the close to flawless performance on my RTX 4090. There's pretty much none of the fake fog that many games use to hide the underwhelming viewing distance. Now in this game, everything you do helps you level up in the respective skill, and there are tons of different categories and perk points, but I will let you discover those for yourself. Lastly, I wanted to mention the save system, which I absolutely despised in the first game. For those select few who do not know, you have to drink an item called Savior Schnapps in order to save the game, if no bed is available. And while this system is still present, you can at least craft these Savior Schnappses now, and they are much more frequent to find as well. The exit save is of course also still present. Something that I hope will be added for the release version are more audio options, and even more importantly a night mode for a more balanced dynamic range. The game has such a wide dynamic range that people who have neighbors will have to constantly adjust the volume, and that along with some bugs that are surely gonna get fixed soon is pretty much the only negative thing I can personally say at this moment. And that sentence concludes today's video. If your time was respected, a like or comment is very much appreciated.